Hey, this is Grant, one half of the Herdsman, coming to you today to talk to you about one of my favorite shows again, Full Metal Alchemist from 2003. Okay, so now, on to episode 7. This is... wow, this is dark. Most of this show's darkness... Now, this is a show that is no stranger to darkness, but this is like going from one rating to another. It's a G to PG to PG-13 to R. And this is definitely going from a PG show up to this point to at least a PG-13. It's really hard to talk about this episode because it's good, but man, there are spoilers in this. It's a very pivotal episode, so I have to explain the spoilers, so this is your last warning. There are spoilers ahead in this. Okay, so this episode you see the end of the Shao Tucker arc, as I call it, and yeah, it ends dark. This is an episode where they really delve into smart yet understandable to kids implications of science. Like, Shao Tucker, he is on the brink of losing tenure, essentially. I mean, he's a state alchemist like Edward is, but he has to submit findings, a lot like a professor has to submit a paper in a journal. I believe that's how it works. Like, you have to submit so much to the college you work at. If I'm wrong, correct me, college professors. But what he ends up doing is he's known as the Sowing Life Alchemist. He's known for creating a composite animal called the Chimera, which actually it's actually a real animal, or real in the sense that it exists in our own mythologies. It's not created for this show. This Chimera is able to understand human speech in this, and you figure out later that there's a very dark reason for that. He killed his wife by fusing his wife with, I believe, one of their dogs, and then he did the same thing to his 5-year-old girl. So the cute little character that I mentioned in the last episode, yeah, this is the episode where essentially she gets stitched to a dog. I mean, you see a dog-like creature. I mean, it looks like just a huge Saint Bernard, I guess. And it seems to have human hair flowing down. It's mostly white, but then the human hair is I'd say chestnut brown. Although I'm not that much of an expert on hair color, so if I'm wrong, also send it in the comments. Yeah, this is a pretty screwed up episode, but unlike a lot of shows that have screwed up episodes, this one seems to have purpose. And wow, it's just dark. And as I mentioned before, this is the third time I'm seeing this, and I've come upon something new in this. After I've seen certain shows so many times, you'd think that I would glean only so much and know more, but this, along with other shows, I found something new about this show, and that is this scene, which I had always thought did better justice to the source material than the reboot in 2009. It doesn't. I mean, it's well acted. I think it's a great scene. It doesn't quite do it for me though, because yeah, you can tell this is very much a product of its time. You can kind of see the datedness of this, and that kind of is a detriment to it. It's not like a datedness that it's timeless and that it captures a certain period of time. It's not like Happy Days where it's so dated it's timeless. It does feel that whole segment feels budget constrained, whereas the other one felt just uncomfortable, but you didn't know why it was uncomfortable. Yeah, it's kind of a big letdown on that surprise. Overall, this episode is great. It introduces a character that you're going to see a lot more of later on, called... yeah, it's probably not that big of a spoiler. The character is named Scar. And he's going to be much more important later on, so keep an eye on him. And also, keep an eye on him if you ever plan on watching the other series, because I hate to spoil it, but he's a lot more interesting in the other series. This is still a good series. I really recommend watching this, and I really like this episode, and that is it for today. See you next. And until next time, don't be afraid to join the herd. Yeah, herd.